One note about our first readings throughout Exodus and now into Numbers. Have you noted that we are now 38 years since they left Egypt, and yet they still talk longingly of being slaves in Egypt because they had water in Egypt, or they had food in Egypt, or this, that, and the other thing in Egypt. And the people now complaining, we're not even born in Egypt. Keep that in mind as we go forward, because Meribah was 22 years to 26 years after the previous reading, when the Lord said 40 days equals 40 years. They are more than halfway through that period of sentence. Okay? Our lesson today is titled On Wrestling with God. The patriarch Jacob was a man who shrewdly developed his best talent, what we might call a self-made man, who obtained what he desired through his own ingenuity. The biblical account tells us about the difficult relationship Jacob had with his brother Esau. From the very beginning, a rivalry that is never overcome. But although he is the younger son, Jacob, through trickery, he obtains the blessing and the birthright of the firstborn from his father Isaac. It is only the first in a long series of ploys of which this unscrupulous man is capable. Jacob manages, seemingly through his own devices, to succeed in life. Even when he is forced to flee from his brother, he is able to enrich himself and to enter a promising marriage. But something is missing. And one day he hears the call of home and sets out for his ancient homeland, where his brothers still live. When Jacob reaches the final stage of his journey, he pauses, wondering what awaits him upon his return. It is here, while he is reflecting on the reception he will receive, that suddenly a stranger grabs him and begins to wrestle with him. The spiritual tradition of the Christian Church has retained the symbol of prayer as a battle of faith and as the triumph of perseverance, using the symbol of Jacob wrestling with a lion. Remember our lesson of the other day, where it is faith, perseverance, and courage. It is in this particular Christian symbol that you see all three. After wrestling with the stranger throughout the night, Jacob is finally overcome when his opponent strikes his sciatic nerve. He kicks him in the butt. After asking Jacob his name, he tells him, "Your name shall no more be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have striven with God and with men, and have prevailed." The stranger refuses to tell Jacob his own name, but blesses him instead. And Jacob understands he has encountered God face to face. Wrestling with God, then, is a metaphor for prayer. Jacob, who had always succeeded in life by his own efforts, is reminded that he is but a mortal man who trembles and fears. For once Jacob has only his frailty and powerlessness to present to God. This is when he is finally able to receive God's blessing, with which he limps into the promised land, vulnerable and wounded, but with a new, beating, human heart, instead of the heart of stone he had previously had. We too have an appointment in the night with God, in the night of our life, in the many nights in our life, dark moments, moments of sin, moments of disorientation. It is when we are alone and are able to recognize our own weakness that God comes to us. But precisely in that moment, we need not fear, because God will give us our new name, which contains the meaning of our entire life, and he will offer us the blessing reserved to those who have allowed themselves to be changed by him. May you find God waiting for you in your darkness, and may you achieve that new name known only to him.